guys, my name is Sonia. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about overcoming binge eating. I want to disclose that the info I share is solely based on my personal experience and should not be considered as medical advice in any way. Knowing this, I'll be going over my binge eating experience and give you guys 6 tips that helped me. It's good to acknowledge that in most cases, binge eating is a symptom. So yes, we can talk about ways to minimize it temporarily, but at the end of the day, our focus has to turn to the root cause. We need to focus on the bigger picture and long-term solutions. So a little bit of a background to my binge eating. It started when I was around 12 years old. And in my culture, there was a lot of pressure to look a certain way from family, friends, relatives, and strangers. And everyone had an opinion on how I looked and weighed. It was as if it was always monitored. For example, I would get compliments if I lost weight and or comments if I gained weight. The first thing relatives would say when they see me is whether I gained or lost weight. And this really affected me and got me very focused on my weight and really putting value on my weight. When I was around 14 years old, shopping for clothes was absolutely dreadful. I remember needing to shop women's sizes because the nature of my body is I have a smaller waist and bigger, fuller hips. And I remember girls my age shopping at American Eagle, H&M, and Aeropostale, where the clothes were too small for me, especially in certain parts. It's not they were at completely small. It was just the way it would be really tight on the hips and loose at the waist. I lost most of my weight in my face actually and my upper body. So when I plateaued, my lower body didn't change at all, and it was so frustrating. I was so disappointed that I decided to even restrict my eating because my face was the only thing that got visibly thin. Got real bad real quick, and I do think I don't even remember if I even lost weight when I started doing that. It was just it just took the wave, just it just took me. I don't even know what happened initially, the beginning, middle, and end. It was just restrict, and then I wake up another day and I'm just binging all the time. All of a sudden I gained 30 pounds. Those days were by far the darkest I'd ever been. Everything felt out of control in my life, and I felt I couldn't keep up with it. I couldn't. It was just taking me away. It takes a lot of courage to acknowledge you have a binge eating disorder, and being proactive about helping yourself, watching videos, researching online is a great first step. But as with everything, it's not just knowledge, it's also application that's really important, and it's something I'm even trying to do. Acknowledge and give yourself compassion for taking the first steps. It is definitely a mountain you'll be climbing for a while, but I assure you, if you go looking for the answers and apply whatever you find is applicable and safe for you, you will progress. Remember, binge eating is not a small thing to overcome. It's not gonna be overnight, and but we are tougher and stronger than our circumstances, so we'll be able to definitely overcome them. Please hold on. I'm here, and there's so many people out there that are rooting for you. In my case, binge eating disorder was really a symptom, but the root cause was really I just didn't live the way I felt I was best for me. There's a lot of resistance between my choices and what I really wanted to do or be or whatever it was in my life. The main focus is to turn to the root cause. I wanted to focus on the bigger picture and long-term solutions. One being that I simply binged as a way to alleviate any discomfort I was feeling within myself. And this relates to my first point of seeking to meet our needs. The whole story was just to say that like therapy and figuring out our needs and meeting them is very important. And like I think personally, from what I've gone through, that was like the root cause, you know. So having said that, I'm gonna go and talk about some short-term solutions. The first thing is to redefine your goal. And what I mean by that is like redefine for yourself what you consider as on track and off track. For example, my goal went from trying to lose weight and like weigh this much. The goal was to change it to, okay, I'm going to slowly decrease the number of times I binge. If we want to set like SMART goals, pinpoint how many times we binge, like where we're starting at. For example, like I binge this many times a month, and like start from there, right? Like your top. Don't like aim for your bottom. And once you maintain that, you can aim to just decrease from there. Don't put a set number. I know it's not a SMART goal. I don't know about you, but for me, it didn't help me being very exact. Maybe a range. You can give yourself a range. This is really important. When you're setting goals, pace yourself and make sure you're setting goals that you know you're capable of achieving. Start off with something where you only have to put 30% effort. Just 30%. Or whatever percent you can do. Wherever you're starting from, start from there. Like if you can only put like 0.01% effort, then aim for that. Like start, as long as you start somewhere, that's okay. Like if you can only do 1% effort, just put 1% effort, and then next time do 3% effort, and then 4%. At least you're starting somewhere. Instead of like, and remember, like just keep in mind, you will continue binging. Like you will actually feel like you're going backwards, and it will be really uncomfortable to sit with your emotions with the intention of trying to become more self-aware, because that's what it is. Like every binge is kind of like a trigger. Something has been triggered and we have to identify it. It will be super uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. And I'd also like to mention, it takes a lot of bravery and courage to go through this journey. So I really applaud you if you really like if you've decided to take this on. Like I know you will feel weak and like in fact like feel like the weakest you've ever been. Like you're kind of expecting like you're gonna take charge of your life. You're gonna feel like strong. You're always gonna feel like a badass, but like in reality, like you're not gonna always feel like that. Like it's actually gonna, when things come up for us, we're gonna actually feel the weakest we've ever been, you know. The second point is to be prepared for things to get much worse before they get a lot better. I'm gonna say it again. Be prepared for things to get much worse before they get a lot better. It's gonna get worse. In fact, like you're gonna go backwards, like I said before. Like it's gonna, yeah, you're gonna see sides of yourself that like you didn't know existed, like we weren't like conscious of. So it was helpful for me to focus on the progress I'm making instead of relapses. I use that moment as feedback, because that is what those moments are really for. They're meant to happen so you can have feedback. Like without your binges, you won't have feedback. So know that this is part of the process, and without the binges occurring, we wouldn't get the feedback that we needed. Okay, point number 3. This helped me in terms of like eating, is to have your safe meals and your favorite cheat snack in hand, and have it once a day, even if you don't crave it. Give yourself permission to eat it and enjoy it. This helps with the locus of control that we all need for ourselves, so you can learn to eat it without guilt. Because there's a lot of like information circulating in the media saying like this food's bad, this food's good, you know, the magazines or and whatnot. I think we've created a fear around food, and I have that too. Like there's actually still like some foods till this day I just don't even go near because it's like so triggering for me. And it's something like, even it's just like there, I know like there's an opportunity for me to grow. Like having fear, like this will help us like decrease our fear with foods, whether it's like foods that have sugar, or even like it's like usually like nutrition, right? Like if we don't eat carbs at all, or like no sugar or whatever it is, like I'm not saying target that. Don't like go jump into straight like doing the opposite. Tip number 3 is weighing. When it comes to weighing yourself, have a weight range. Instead of setting a number, make it a point to refer to your weight in ranges. For example, I don't know, like 130 to 140. It very depends on how your weight fluctuates. Like I personally, like as a woman, like maybe there's men watching this, but when our monthly cycles occur, our hormones cause a lot of fluctuation in our weight. So I take like my highest weight during the cycle and my lowest weight, and I use that as a measure, just so like I'm not like freaked out every single time like it happens. Like I'm already expecting my weight to like be in this range because of like this time of the month. So like your monthly period is like, they say like that's the time like you usually overeat, is for women. I think for me, the only reason that happened was because like I would see my weight fluctuate and I'd be like, shit, like I'm gaining weight. And I wouldn't even consciously think, okay, like it's because of this. Like my mind just sees the number on the scale and it freaks out, and I would binge. Really, I would take like the center of like that range and like have that as my like reference point. I always have 3 weights. I would say my weight is like 130, 135, and 140. Like what's helpful is to have like your range, for example, your green spot, right? And then like if you're like 5 and have like your yellow spot, which is like 5 pounds up and down, and then maybe like your blue spot, you know. So once like I get close to that like yellow spot, I'm like, okay, like what am I doing differently? Because like I said before, when you're setting your goal, you start from like your highest point. Like that's like your bare minimum. Like that's like your average. Like that's you, it takes you no effort. Like your starting point is like 30 binges a month, for example, right? So if you're like going into the yellow line, it means like keep an eye on it. Like there's something happening, and like I have to get that message. The reason I use ranges is because we panic really easily. If I would weigh myself multiple times a day, and I would look at the little like millimeter lines to make sure like I haven't gained. Like that was how extreme and like restricted I like felt, right? So imagine like having a nervous breakdown when like I have food and like the number went up by like 1 point. Like I had this type of scale, not like the digital one, but like yeah, I would like always try to like, it wasn't pretty. Like imagine like having a mental breakdown every time you eat. Like that's what happens, because like hello, I ate food. I know like I'm not even shaming myself for it, but like I have compassion for myself. Like the logical thing is like, hello, you just ate food, and like why are you panicking? Like it's not even like, wait, you just ate. But like the thing with this is like our minds just doesn't comprehend that completely yet. Okay, so the 4th point is to have positive self-talk. This is definitely something that is going to be a lifetime thing. Like it's not like, oh, I have positive self-talk now, like I'm healed, I've recovered. Like it's just an ongoing thing throughout our lives, because there's no shortage of negative talk that's going on, like in the outside world, in our inside world. We just have to be very careful, like very conscious of what we take in, what we give out, and this relates back to binge eating, and I'll tell you why. There's actually a book that I really liked. I got many years ago. I think it was like Mind Over Mood, which is a really good book. I don't remember the author, but it was very helpful, and she introduced the idea of the broken record exercises, which is basically saying that, actually let me Google it because I don't remember it. So this is how she described the broken record. I think it's from a website, but it's like anxious thoughts act like a broken record. An anxious thought will start to play in the mind, and once it does, that obsessive thought plays over and over again. Listening to our anxious thoughts non-stop can make them grow even bigger and stronger, and we come to believe them. Our worries feel real when anxiety is a broken record. When this happens, it's time to change our tune. Wow, that was so nicely written. And it says, picture a turntable, a black vinyl disc teeming with the potential music rests on the platter. You know those what's it called? Vinyl records, like the round discs where you put the needle on it and it starts playing music, the old ones. Yeah, I think it's talking about that. It says picture the turntable. You place the needle into a groove and start the player. The disc begins to spin, and a song bursts into the room, filling the room and your mind with music. It's not the music you wanted to hear, though. In fact, it was so awful, you wanted to move to a different song. To your dismay, it never moves, and the needle is stuck in the groove because the record is broken. You have to listen to the terrible song play on and on. Anxiety is like this broken record. The song itself is wrong. Anxiety puts horrible thoughts in our head. Thoughts like you're going to fail, or you're not good enough, or something terrible will happen. And once an anxious thought begins, it often picks up speed, screeching its painful song over again. It's like the broken record does not change. Broken record that we repeat in our head, all the negative self-talk, everything we've heard in our lives, it doesn't come from us, it comes from the outside, right? And it doesn't change. The thing is, even though it does come from the outside, that broken record does not change until we intentionally sit down with it and change it ourselves. And why does this impact our binge eating? Because when we binge, there's usually, before we binge and after we binge, what we say to ourselves, it makes a big difference on our experience, on our behavior. Our thoughts become our behavior eventually. What we say to ourselves before we binge, or how we talk to ourselves after we binge, will determine, first of all, if we're going to binge again, how we feel about ourselves. And it's usually, if it's negative, it's going to perpetuate our issues and cause us to binge more and more. This is not triggering. If it is, click off or something by just 2 seconds. I want to mention something the experience of binging. You're in that state of you're unaware, you're unconscious of what's going on, and you're just eating and eating. I've been there, and it was usually, sometimes, yeah, we're filling a void, there's that, but also sometimes it's I'm shaming myself, I'm telling myself negative things, and you know how I said I wanted to binge eating as a way to alleviate any discomfort you're feeling with yourself. Whatever I'm telling myself, feeding into myself negatively in my mind, I'm creating more discomfort, and I'm eating more food to comfort that discomfort I'm creating in the moment of my discomfort. I'm using my discomfort, and I'm creating more discomfort in my broken record. and I'm eating to alleviate that discomfort, and by eating I'm creating that discomfort. And like, change your broken record consciously, intentionally sit down and try to figure out what you say before you binge, what you say to yourself after you binge. Catch yourself. I know you can't catch everything all at once, and sometimes maybe you're at the point where like you're like, wait, what? Like, you hear stuff in your head when you're binging, and like, you know, like sometimes you don't. Like, even in the beginning, when you're like more it's like you're unconscious, you're like in a fog. Describe that fog. Like, I think that's the point of therapy. The point of therapy is to like help you understand that fog, or like get out of that fog, you know. So on the point of positive self-talk, try to decrease using ultimate words. This is something I still catch myself doing till this day. There's nothing wrong with it. Like it will happen. Trying to decrease and minimize using ultimate words really helped me. Words such as must, should, I should, I must be doing this, I always, you always do this, I always do this, I never, you never, like, can't, I can't, you can't. That method of like speaking is not like good for us. Like, it's not helpful for anyone. And we have to work on, see, I said have to, like, just like that. Like, it's helpful for us to catch ourselves when we think that way, because those things can really set us back. Know that there will be a lot, and sometimes you can't even get them all down, and that's okay. Just do the best you can. But just remember, the broken record will keep on repeating in the background the same phrases until we rewrite them ourselves. I hope this was helpful for you. Please like and subscribe to get more tips, and put like any questions or comments down below. I love to read them, and take it one day at a time. I covered a lot of things here, and this took like a few years. This is like a few years of work, so don't expect like to do this all at once. Yeah, like, I know we all want like a solution and like to help ourselves, but please just pace yourself. And that's something like even I'm having difficulties doing, like in other areas of my life too, like just trying to find like the solution, and like, you know, just doing it all at once. But it's not like that. Like, it takes a while, even though like, even if you figured out what like works for you, and you're like, wow, like this makes sense, this is exactly what I'm going through, like I'm gonna apply it. Like, even if it's like something like it's good advice for you, like you find it helpful for you, just take it one day at a time. Yeah, just take it one day at a time. All the best.